Welcome back to Business Today. Thank you for staying with us. Once again, like I said just before we went on that break, I will be joined by Brenda Kerubo from our City Centre studios. And as we know, as of the latest communique from the Central Bank of Kenya, they have decided to retain the lending rate at 9%. Welcome, Brenda. Thank you for joining us. And could you tell us more about exactly why this decision was taken and the areas it touches on, as well as the effects it is set to have?
Thank you and good afternoon. Now, of course, according to the Central Bank of Kenya, the decision to hold interest rates was specifically linked to the fact that inflation remains stable. We're talking about, of course, the persistent rise in the cost of goods and services. Basic commodities in the period under review between September and January was practically stable. Cabbages, tomatoes, all these prices of such commodities are relatively within the central bank's target. When you're talking about inflation, for example, in December, it came in at around 5.7%. That's well within the central bank target of between 2.5% and 7.5%. Now, of course, the holding of the lending rate was also linked to a stellar performance in key sectors such as tourism. We're having receipts and also arrivals that averaged about 2 million. This is the highest ever in record. We're also talking about remittances. Now that specific sector contributes at least 3% to the country's total goods and services produced. We're talking about the GDP. Also, remittances recorded a figure of about $2.69 billion. These are Kenyans living in other international countries that are sending back home in key investments such as education. They're sending money back to their families in vibrant sectors such as the real estate sectors. Now, these are just some of the key sectors that were very vibrant, they were very good, and the central bank said, hey, look, we're seeing such a good performance in such sectors as well as inflation, and we're saying we're going to hold the interest rate. Now, the decision was also linked to the fact that our current account deficit is also narrowing. This means that the number of goods and services that we are importing at the moment is actually much lower compared to exports. This compared to a similar period in 2017. Now, remember, we did have quite huge infrastructure projects, talking about the SGR, that we needed quite a lot of capital-intensive raw materials that we were importing from countries such as China. This, of course, does significantly affect the balance of payments, and we're looking at exports now that are growing highly, talking about coffee, talking about tea now, and also apparels. This is just some of the stellar performances that have contributed to the, let's talk about the 6% that the central bank said will be recording in 2018 compared to around 4.7% recorded between January 2017 and September 2017, Malika. Of course, the central bank did, however, highlight some potential risks that we faced. We're talking about external shocks such as the potential trade war that is happening between the US and China, of course, the two biggest economies in the world. You also talked about Brexit, the plan for the United Kingdom to leave the European Union. That's the trading and economic bloc of the European region. You also talked about anti-globalization sentiments that are going around that should potentially have an impact when it comes to the Kenyan economy. But he did, however, say that when it comes to Kenya, it is well diversified. And this means it is well and able to withstand external shocks. For instance, the Dusit January 15th attack. He said that the markets did the following day perform relatively well. They didn't see any potential withdrawal of dollars in a panic sort of a way. They say that everything was stable. Investors were stable, taking a wait-and-see approach. You also say that going forward, the country has enough reserves when it comes to the so-called potential shocks. It says that the country has about 8.1 billion shillings in its reserves. It says that's just about 5.3 months import cover. So in case we have any shocks, we should have enough buffer to cover it. You also say that he's very optimistic going forward when it comes to the economy as a whole. Foreign direct investment, of course, continues to be the key stellar performance. Of course, they're investing in key projects. You also say that the agriculture sector is very resilient. We have good rains, we have good weather, the farmers are well prepared, and we also have food supplies. So that, of course, should counter the fact that in 2017 we had a drought that affected imports, and we ended up importing commodities such as rice and flour and sugar. And this, of course, did have a significant impact when it comes to the balance of payments.
All right, thank you very much, Brenda, for diversifying our knowledge on that particular side. In terms of the CBK's decision to retain the lending rate at 9%, you've of course gone far and wide to explore all the factors affecting that decision. Thank you very much, Brenda, for joining us today on the show. All right, and moving forward from that, at least 1 million farmers across Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia and Tanzania are set to benefit from Mercy Crops AgriFin Digital Farmer ADF, a 2-year initiative that will support enabled digital services to farmers. The program seeks to increase small-scale farmers' productivity by 50% and a 40% reach to women. Take a look.
For innovation. Today, and I'm glad Sammy's sitting right here.
We respect farmers. They make logical and really difficult positions. Their life and livelihoods are on the line with the decision they make. They know better, but we want to give them good options and reap the rewards and benefits from taking those small risks that we feel we can help them and make the achievements and improve their productivity.
We've been trying to delve very deeply into insights, particularly into how young smallholder farmers view their futures, what they need to thrive and be successful in treating farming as a business and working to modernize that. So as an organization, we're also very dedicated to working with others to expand opportunities in the countries where we're already working to include more and more young smallholder farmers in the program and the platform as a route to employment and a route to thrive.